Ryan Day and some of his thoughts after 4 practices. So I'm sure much is known about this team at this point.
Yeah, we got to see about an hour of the first 2 practices. Nothing on Friday may have been the third practice, and today was the fourth practice. And they were in helmets today. They will go to full pads Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week. And that's when the rubber starts to hit the road. None of those are open for the media, though. So we won't be able to give you in-person reports from any of those. Wednesday is the pro day. They said that Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis will be busy helping out Emeka Buka catching passes from Will Howard. I mean, you send Emeka out for a pass pattern and Will Howard can throw 4 passes in a span of 30 seconds. Emeka Buka is only going to be able to catch one of them. So they got some other guys, running routes for him, which will be kind of cool. He was asked about Austin Sierreveld, who was a starter at some points last year, kind of got supplanted in the national championship last couple of games by Montgomery, and whether he could still be a starter at guard. And Coach Day said, I hope so. He's shown he has that look in his eye, and they're going to really do everything they can to get the best 5 offensive linemen on the field. So we'll see how that all develops. I know from watching Tegra Shabola, at least those 2 days looked like he'd slimmed down just a little bit and kind of had that angular look a little bit more than that blobular look that we've kind of seen out of him before. So I think that's a positive development on the offensive line for both those guys if they're stepping up to go with Montgomery, Hinsman, in the 2 tackles that were brought in, Philip Daniels and Ethan Onianwa. Let's see. With Matt Patricia, he said he's shown a lot of energy. He's building relationships, and the feedback from the players has been good. His experience and credibility speaks for itself. The defensive end from the FCS ranks, Logan George, has been a good fit. Likes the way the offensive tackles are working with Tyler Bowen. Says that right now the plan is to actually have a spring game. They're calling it the spring showcase just so they have some wiggle room in case they have a bunch of injuries and can't put together a full squad to play an actual game. But my guess is you won't see people like Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs out there, but maybe more than a play or two just to have a cameo in that spring game because certainly you want them in bubble wrap and shipped to the season opener August 30th or whatever day it is against the University of Texas. So did confirm April 14 will be the trip to the White House. Quote, it's an honor to be invited. It's a part of the celebration of our team. It said he grew up watching teams being honored at the White House, so there's no reason why this Ohio State team will not follow in that lead as well. So that was a lot of the high points, I thought. Perhaps Tony has more of what he heard and saw with Ryan Day. He always puts a positive spin on everything. And to me, it sounds like after 4 days, they're pretty happy with the progress.
Yeah, and another receiver who may be working with Pro Day is Bryson Rogers. I guess the draft eligible players can take part in helping out. Whereas before, I swear we saw Marvin Harrison doing this as a sophomore. But I was told earlier today that it's only draft eligible players who could if they're juniors or third-year players this year, then they can take part. So Bryson Rogers is scheduled to be another one of those guys out there. But it was interesting. I think somebody mentioned it after the fact, and I don't know that anybody asked Ryan Day about the quarterbacks, which gives you an idea of still how early it is and how everybody already knows the answers to all of the quarterback questions, that Ryan Day is going to give, where it's just, well, it's early and, they're all looking good, but all of the reps are even. So there's nothing going on there. Like in terms of a front runner or anything like that. The offensive line still continuing to build depth, like Steve said. If from the way Ryan Day talked, or from somebody I talked with earlier today, like they believe that Austin Sierreveld can be that left tackle, and being an Iron Buckeye over the offseason kind of solidifies his desire to do that. So he's embracing this opportunity while they still want to build depth on an offensive line and rotate, because it worked last year. So if it worked as well as it did last year, I wouldn't expect them to stop now if they have the opportunity to continue it. So who knows? Maybe it'll go beyond just guards rotating. Maybe they'll start rotating tackles as well. So the whole development of the offensive line is interesting. But depth was, I think, the topic du jour today, because they're looking at 16 games this season. So when we were talking with Brian Hartline, it's about, building depth at receiver and everywhere else. You're talking to Matt Patricia. He's like, he has the ability to build more depth than he ever could at in the NFL, and to utilize that depth. So it sounds like he's having fun just seeing the way guys move right now, and seeing like I could see him doing this and I could see him doing that. So the spring gives him an opportunity to put guys in different positions and suss things out where because he's always talking about how like the defense, they just have so many long big bodies, and so that's exciting for a defensive coordinator to figure out where can we have those guys impact the offense most.
Has anybody talked to Matt Patricia and asked him about scheme, whether he's going to make big changes?
Not big changes, because as he said, he's learning as much as he's teaching right now, doing more learning than teaching, because he's got to figure out what they've got there. But he's the only new guy on the defensive staff. So what they'll do is they'll continue to do what they did last year. He'll bring in some of the things that he does, but it's not going to be a big change. Now, they were also evolving throughout the course of last season. It wasn't just a 4-down front by the end of the season. They did 3, they did 4, they did 5. So they did some versatile things, and I think that will continue. So maybe what you saw at the end, you'll see at the start, and then maybe by the middle of the season, the end of this season, you'll be seeing even more of the Matt Patricia thing. But you had the number 1 defense in the nation last year, and I get that a lot of that was because of the personnel, but it worked. And if you've got the guys that can still do it this year, don't change too much. But they need the guys that can do it, and that's up front. That's finding a nickel that can do what Jordan Hancock did, which is a tall order. That's finding somebody that can do what Lathan Ransom did, move from safety to safety, do whatever you needed, and then always make the tackle, which those guys did kind of all season towards or at least the second half of the season last year.
Jackson, thank you for the contribution, chiming in with this one. 159 days until the Ohio State-Texas rematch, August 30th. Let's get Ohio State at the Voice of College Football to 10,000 subs. So I checked. 8990. The team up north of 10,000. That should be some incentive for you Buckeye fans who want to win at everything. Got to win at everything. Get the subs up there. You're about 2,000 behind. Close to it. Something like that. Not acceptable. All right.
I thought it was interesting that Ryan Day also knows that today there's 159 days until the Texas game. So he's counting it down as well. And it sounds like that's a big focal point for the team so that they don't lose focus and they don't waste any of their days.